think everybody's muted. Are we talking? Just making sure, checking.
Let's see.
Okay, now we can hear you. Go ahead.
All right.
Wait, Christy, can you go put it so we can see everybody that's here? So none, you just don't want to see one other person says it.
Okay, can you guys hear me okay?
We can.
I am showing 4 o'clock. Dr. Gibbs Sherman, do we have a quorum?
We do have a quorum.
All right, welcome everyone. We'll officially kick off our Tuesday, May 24th, Foothills Governance Board meeting. We'll call the meeting to order, and the first order of business is to entertain a motion to approve our agenda that has been sent out earlier on an email. Any changes to the agenda, Dr. Gibbs Sherman, before we approve?
No, the only change that we made is we updated attachments 2A and 2B with an employee that resigned, and I'll talk a little bit about that during our executive session.
Okay, along with that change, we entertain a motion from our board members to approve the agenda as stated.
I make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Thank you, Laurie.
Second.
Second, Jennifer. Thank you for that. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Our agenda is approved. Let's move to item 3, approval of our March 22nd minutes. You also had a chance to review those, I believe, at the end of last week. So we'll pause just for a moment, entertain a motion to approve our March 22nd minutes.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you, Beverly.
Second.
Second, Laurie. Thank you for that. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 And any opposed? Hearing none, our minutes are approved. And we'll pause just for a minute. Dr. Gibney Sherman, are you aware of any public comments today?
Oh, we have none.
Hearing no public comments, we'll move on to item 5. Turn it over to Dr. Gibney Sherman for the superintendent's report for the handful of items to discuss.
Okay. Where's that?
It's on the front of attachment number 7.
All right. Okay, the first thing is looking at the enrollment. We're like right at, we take the enrollment at the end of every month, and we're at 22,780 students. So we've got a full house, and now we have a whole lot of transfer credit kids showing up who are trying to make up for work this summer. So that's starting to pick up. And you see our monthly progress reports, March and April. And you see our student newsletter and our graduates. We're like right at 204 as of April 30, but that number has picked up a good bit since then. And then since we opened, we've graduated 1,714 students. And again, that's as of April the 30th. So the graduation is picking up traction, and we are moving right along. The curriculum and data team work continues, and that's probably one of our greatest initiatives that we have. And we're in our 5th year of having very active curriculum and data teams that meet at least monthly, and their task is to make sure our curriculum is aligned to standards, and that our students are prepared, and that they're ready to take any kind of testing. And you'll see in just a minute, I'm going to show you our test scores. It is proven to work. And you might remember we brought on Todd Nicholson, and he is one of our few full-time staff members coming from Jackson County. And his first task is to get us ready for Cognia. And part of that is looking at our strategic plan and aligning it to Cognia standards, and then the board standards for the strategic plan, and he's done a stellar job. And so this newsletter kind of highlights that. And so that is moving right along. And that's what we average in our newsletter that we put out every week, every month. One newsletter, we focus on students, and then the next one, we focus on some program development. Our next part is looking at our end of course scores, and Dale is using a program called Tableau, and it's very fancy, but it gives you a lot of different ways of looking at test scores, and he's always happy to share that strategy. But you can see that we have continued to trending up in all areas. The one that's somewhat flat at the moment is the American Lit, but we'll catch up. You might remember we were the 10th highest in the state last year. And so we have a pretty high bar to try to meet. But just looking at it, we've increased the number of kids taking the end of course by over 22% since last year. And of course, a lot of that has to do with the pandemic and the number of kids who actually completed courses. Algebra and American Lit, they're steady. It's moving right along, scoring level 2 or above. But biology has increased by 4 points and US history by 7 points. And so that's pretty significant when you look overall for us. And then looking at the weighted content mastery, remember they weighed it out. It's not just the raw score. And there was increases in algebra, went from 41.3% to 48.5%. And we're real proud of that because that's a real hard class for our kids. And then biology went up significantly from 54.1% to 65.8%. In US history, we were struggling there, but we're up from 59.6% to 80% passing. And so we're real proud of the academic progress our kids have made. And at the root of that is looking at our curriculum team and our data team and just continuing that work and making sure that we have curriculum that aligns to what the kids are actually being tested on. So let me pause right there, Nathan, and see if there are any questions. And a reminder for our superintendents on the line, you are most welcome to use our curriculum or any of our data materials that we develop. It's good work, and it's a lot of your people that are developing it. And so we're always happy to share. Then looking at graduation for this spring is just a summary of all the dates and locations. And last night we had graduation in Walton, which was fabulous. And when we have it in Walton, we host it over at the 1025 church in Monroe. And Nathan, you know that facility, it was packed. There was not a seat available. And we had a speaker who's one of our legislators, and his name is Bruce Williamson. And he gave a stellar speech, and it was like he's been with Foothills since we opened. And he was impressed, and we were impressed with him and his knowledge and understanding of Foothills. But if your schedule permits, you won't be disappointed if you go attend one of these sessions. But this year we're live streaming, so it's available online as well if you'd rather do that. So I'm just going to stop right there and see if there are any questions. Okay, moving on. We're moved to the financial updates, and Bonnie kind of flirted with some of this information before, but Bonnie, if you'll go ahead and talk us through.
Sure. So 9A is your standard just financial statement that gives you our look in March and then again in April, and you can see that we continue to be below budget and increasing our fund balance each month. The next page is April's, same snapshot of budget to actual expenditure, and really no major differences there month to month, just carrying the expenditures forward and continuing to monitor and look for anything. Our next page, the third page, is our investment at First Citizens. And I mentioned earlier the possibility of moving away from this type of investment and to the US Treasury bonds. And one reason you'll see is because the investment is down to 7.3, a little over 7.3 million, and it was as high as 7.65 before the economy started to have changes in investments. So we're continuing to monitor that, and investment advice at this point is for everybody to just stay as is and it'll recover. So we will see. We'll just keep watching it. The next page is just the standard page that lists all of the grants that we have and where we are in terms of what was approved, what's been requested, what's been expended. There's really nothing out of the ordinary there. You can see that we're getting closer to expending all of the funds as we get closer to the end of the year. But really nothing out of the ordinary there. And then the last page is a new page, actually, that we've started this month giving you, and that's just a funds consolidation page, and it's showing you the state and local portion of the budget. They're highlighted in yellow that we consolidate with each federal fund that's listed, and how much we've expended, and then down in the bottom, the, I guess, orange, burnt orange color, showing you how much we have drawn down from each one of those grants based on our funds consolidation. Just for those of you that don't do funds consolidation, if you remember, we take all of our federal funds, or as much as we possibly can, and we merge it with our state and local dollars so that we create a percentage of the total, and then we take our total expenses, and then that's what we draw down each month. And I'm including this spreadsheet. We've created it since we consolidated funds back in 2016, but we just got a report from the state that said our governance team didn't know enough about our funds consolidation. So I told Sherry that I was just going to start giving you the details, and that's the detail up to the last drawdown that we did in April. So we'll just keep supplying that each time we meet. I think that's all for 9A. Oh, sorry, I always forget Heartland. And Christy's smiling because she helps put this one together, but here's our Heartland expenses compared to our budget. And if you remember, our budget is just the revenues that we receive for the BIB students, BIB and BUTS at the beginning of the year. You can see that we're doing fine there, and they're actually creating their own fund balance per se. So we'll just keep monitoring that and keep them separate in case they ever branch off into their own entity. But things look really good there as well. And then 9B is just our 9B is just our engagement letter with Raymond James, and it's just a letter allowing Raymond James really to go look for treasury bonds for us to purchase and to provide back a higher rate of return than a regular normal investment or a Georgia Fund 1 investment. So just wanted to share with y'all our engagement letter, and then we will bring back any type of activity that they propose and any purchase that they would propose. We'll definitely bring that back for board approval, hopefully in June as part of the budget wrap up, but if not in June, in July.
One comment on that last piece there, just an FYI, our CFO might reach out to you just to compare notes. We're looking at doing the same thing in Walton County. And we found out today, and you may want to check with your official bank, because banks have to collateralize, the large investments we put in there. So even though the money doesn't actually leave the bank, ironically, for something like this, they have a huge fee for us to do that. I guess they can't use that money to make money off of it while it's, doing whatever with the U.S. Treasury. So something to check on with your bank to see some.
Really?
It's still probably a no-brainer for us because it's such a big difference in interest. But we may be looking, if we do 30 million and punch it over there from Georgia Fund 1 to U.S. Treasury, we may, it may cost us 20 grand from the bank. So something to check on.
Wow, absolutely. I'll reach out to BB&T this week. Thank you, Nathan, for that. I did not know that.
Okay, thank you. Were there any other questions? All right, moving along. We continue to do our COVID updates, and we've had some upticks the last couple of weeks, and it's like coming out of like nowhere. But we're responding in their same format where the nurses are on call. The supervisor contacts them and gives direction per individual, what they need to do regarding masks or staying away and all that kind of thing. And so that's that report. It's not nearly what we dealt with last year, but it's still, the uptick was a surprise. All right, moving to unemployment. After Greg left, we moved over to Dan for more aggressive help in different areas, including the unemployment claims. And Dan was able to talk to a human. And that's a big step for mankind. He talked to a human at the Department of Labor, actually several times. And till the end where we felt comfortable with some communication that came out. So we hosted and I sent you all the communication I sent out. And then we had a town hall meeting where everyone could join. And Leo, I think we had a little over 100 people who attended, and we were able to answer questions and get that out there. And so the whole hope is by June 30, we're out of this business. We're still refunding people that have applied, who've asked for it. But Dan's counsel to all of us is if you receive the money and they're asking for it back, for you to file for a waiver. And he did a talk about that. What is that all about? And so we're hoping our people will do that, because they're not only going to waive the state portion, but they're going to waive the federal portion. And that's a big support. And then if anyone has already been paid, they'll have to pay us back. And so we're working through the logistics of how to get that money back. Because you might remember they signed a statement saying that if they did indeed ever got a refund from the Department of Labor, they'd have to pay us back. So that's our greatest hope. And so far, there hasn't been that much noise about that since, but a whole lot of appreciation for having the conversation. Any questions? But Dan's done a very good job with us. We have 3 policies that we're putting on the table, nothing really significant, about personal and professional leave, field trips, and graduation requirements. And Nathan, I did take back to our people your thought about what you added into your policy about dual enrollment, et cetera. And we have, for us, that's not, we don't think that's going to be a problem, you know, based on our kids and who is graduating. So
Thanks for checking.
Yes, you bet. But thank you for always mention something, because you never know when it's something we haven't considered. And so those 3 are on the table for now.
For our other board members, and Beverly, specifically you, with the Val and Sal, with the changes in dual enrollment last year, capping it at 30 hours, we were worried that any student that goes beyond 30, their parents have to purchase those classes. So we didn't want a possibility of me and Beverly being really close, but I come from a poor family. Beverly's from a well-off family. So they purchased 3 more dual enrollment classes, and she's valedictorian thanks to the 10 points, and I'm not. So we have board policy now that says we won't count, just for Val and Sal, anything over 30 hours that the parents purchase, just for equity's sake.
Oh, that's great information. Thank you.
Yeah, that was helpful, but it was a good conversation. I assembled the group and we talked about it, and we decided that was not a variable for us. But thank you for that. And then Bonnie, we have a recommendation for the auditor.
Yes, so this is the same auditor that we've used since our 2nd year. I call him Bambo S because I have trouble pronouncing his last name. But he's what actually we learned about him from the SCSE. He's recommended by the SCSE every year. And so we feel like even though we're not under SCSE any longer, for just continuity, and we'll continue with him, but we will have to pay for the cost of the audit this year. In the past, the SCSE has paid for the cost, and we've just paid for him to file our 990T.
So that'll become part of the consent approval, Nathan, at the end.
Okay.
And then the next document is our completed document for governance training for FY22. They sent us a little form that we took and we sent around, and thank you all for signing, and everyone has met the requirements. And so when we come back in July, we'll have a draft plan for training for this next year that we will share, and we have a little form they want us to fill out, and then we'll send them, and we'll wait to do that in July. So this task is over. Then the next is, and this will be part of the consent agenda every year, Jennifer, we signed a contract with the Department of Corrections, and it's basically the same as we've had before. We adjusted the goals slightly, but this is what's being asked for approval, and then we'll send this, once the board approves it, it'll go through DocuSign and it'll be executed with the Department of Corrections. Nothing major change. Jennifer, did you want to say anything?
I just was going to say, I like how you adjusted the goal, Sherry. That made a whole lot more sense. I think last year we were trying to get there, but this year it just made more sense the way that you wrote the goals up for the students who are incarcerated.
Perfect. And we thank Dale for his math head on that one. So Dale, thank you so much. And then our next item, Nathan, is really for you. I understand that we'll have a new membership on our governance team next year.
That's correct, Dr. Gibney Sherman. Beverly is set to, her term is going to expire. So the small district membership groups, I think that's a group of 4, if I'm remembering correctly offhand. They've decided to nominate Dr. Robbie Hooker, Social Circle City School District Superintendent, to fulfill that spot on our governance board.
Okay, and so he'll start in July, so we won't make changes to any documents or anything like that until July. And so everything will remain as is until then. We look forward, and Beverly, we thank you. But you're not leaving too far. You'll be a partner advisor.
Absolutely. We'll always be a partner and a supporter.
And we are so grateful for all that you have done and will do as we continue moving forward. So Beverly, we really do appreciate this, because I know this is time out of your precious schedule, and especially at this time of year, and we thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure.
And Robbie will be a fabulous addition, and we'll make, as I say, those changes in July. And then the next is the superintendent evaluation and contract addendum, and we'll do that in the executive session. But Nathan, you might want to just say that you've completed that task, and then.
Yep, that's right. I want to thank my fellow governance team members for their input on the FY22 Superintendent's Summative Evaluation. I've had a chance to complete that with your input. I think you've all reviewed that final copy recently. I've submitted that to Dr. Gibney Sherman for her review. And as we go into executive session, we'll discuss contract addendum and specifics behind that I've had a chance to, I believe, also bounce off our governing team members as well, but we'll mention those specifics in executive session.
Okay, so we'll just hold off on that. And then the last I wanted to do as far as the discussion items is just to give you a brief update about our work with Senate Bill 153. We're working hard on that. And I just want to tell you a few pieces that are out there in case somebody comes to you. You remember we meet every Tuesday at 9 a.m. With Mountain Ed and Coastal Plains, just to make sure and check in and see who's done what. And so that was actually today. But for Foothills proper, last night I'd mentioned we had Representative Bruce Williamson at the graduation at Walton, and we've invited legislators to come to all our graduations. And that is Paul's work. He invites and he escorts them, and they sit with me on the stage, and they're invited to speak for 3 to 5 minutes. And last night was fabulous. I just cannot get over how well done that was. And then Tiffany Taylor remains our contact at the DOE. We've had our second meeting with her, along with Mountain Ed and Coastal. And we asked Dan, I brought Dan into the party and asked him to write an opinion about how this will not work the way the law is written. And in fact, it can't. The way the law is written, it can't be implemented. And he did a stellar job presenting an opinion last week, but it turns out Tiffany got COVID, and so she was out of the scene and just came back today. But we're waiting to hear now from the AG to see how he responds to that opinion. In the meantime, we've asked Coastal and Mountain Ed to contact their attorneys, which is Harlan Hartley, to also give an opinion, but with using a different angle. And so that's underway right now. We have brought on Claire Suggs, and we're just contracting with her. You may know her from policy, and she's worked at Page. But she has a keen awareness of legislative activity and strategy. So she's like our strategist and is meeting with us periodically to help guide us, like move the chess pieces, because we're all too close to this. And so she has really been helpful. And yesterday at April's retirement reception, I would happen to run into Chris Irwin, who continues to be our supporter. And so thank you, Nathan, for continuing that conversation. Talking to Matt Dubnick, talking to Todd Jones, David
Right.
Ralston seems to be the man.
Yep.
And so he's in Mountain Ed country. And so they've had a lot of conversations with him. The stellar thing that we had this past Thursday is that we had OPB approach us a couple of weeks ago asking to come visit us. Yay. And that was because of our work last year. And they contacted Bonnie directly. They came to visit, stayed at Walton Foothills for over 3 hours. And they were absolutely asking the best questions you could ever hope for. And they responded yesterday asking for more information. So we are feeling very strong because these are the people in the governor's office that has to set the budget and leave a placeholder for this. And Bonnie has done an outstanding job presenting to them different budget options. And they are leaning forward and listening hard. And so we're just really, really, really pleased about that. Lori, thank you for your work in contacting the leader of the RISAs across the state. And it looks like we have a party where we're going to be invited to speak and have a huddle with the RISAs across the state. I was approached last week from the Charter System Foundation inviting us to come speak. And the idea here is to keep talking about it, keep the movement going. We're going to still be here. You know, the question is, what will we look like? And that's what we're working on now. And then last week, we had a public hearing with Stan DeJarnett, who is our board member and of course the former superintendent from Morgan County. And the room was packed. And the only people in that room were Foothills people. But they got right up there. We had parents, we had students, and we had staff. And it was not rehearsed. It was just said, speak from your heart, and they did. And Stan handled them like such a professional, and our people, you would have been proud. And it turns out Matt Cardoza was there, and so we were able to chat a little bit more about all this. So all that to say, there's a lot of activity going on now before we get into session, and the hope is that we'll have legislation in place ready to go. And so that, any questions about any of that? Okay. All right, then. So Leo, if you'll help us, and if I could go in a session with the board members.
Yes.
And the
So
Leo, real quick before you proceed, Dr. Gibney Sherman, did we cover, I may have missed it, sorry, 22, 23 handbook updates? Sorry if you did.
You know what? No, let me, thank you for asking that, Nathan. Let me tell you what happened. Last week, as you can hear, I like to read and understand what's presented, and I flat out did not have time to read and understand all those handbooks. The only one we're focused on is the staff, so I've pulled them all off.
Okay.
So the only one I'll bring to you in the June, at the June called meeting, is the staff handbook, because we put that in compliance director, and the
Gotcha.
others I'm going to hold off until July. And so we changed that, and I think we changed that on the agenda, but I think you may have an old one. So thank you for noticing that.
Yep. Sorry, thanks for the clarification. Sorry to interrupt, Leo. And if I'm looking at the agenda correctly, our next step is to go into executive session. Leo can give us instructions on that. Once he does, I'll call for a motion and a second to go into executive session. We'll come back out via vote and approve our action items. Is that correct, Dr. Gibney Sherman?
It is. And then I have just a reminder for the budget hearing. The next one's on June the 20th at 4:00.
And that's a Monday.
That's correct. And then right after that, we'll have a called meeting to approve the budget, and then the process is done.
Thank you for that. Okay. Go ahead, Leo, and before we leave,
Okay, for sake of, we are live streaming on YouTube for public viewing. Because of that, I'll share this graphic. So if anybody joins, they will know we're in executive session. At this time, I would open extra room for you guys. It will pop up on your screen. Please join the room. At that time, you're going to be isolated, and I'll stay in the lobby waiting. Once you're done with executive session, just click in the bottom right to leave the room, and you'll come back to this main meeting, and we can resume.
Perfect.
All right.
thank you. And let me, before we do that, of course, let me entertain a motion from our governance team members to go into executive session to discuss personnel on the superintendent's contract addendum.
I make a motion, we go into executive session.
Thank you, Beverly.
Second.
We have a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, we'll head to executive session now. If you'll hit the join button. Okay, make sure we have everyone. I don't see Dr. Gibney Sherman. I think we've got everyone except that.
Yes.
There we go. Okay, we're back. I think we have our governance team members swapped over. Welcome back. We are officially out of executive session, back in our regular session. We have some action items before us to approve, some finalized policies. Board members, any objection to approve these as a consent agenda?
No objection.
Hearing none, we'll entertain a motion to approve the items before us as presented.
I make a motion to approve the items as presented.
Thank you, Beverly. We have a motion.
Second.
Second. Thank you, Jennifer. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No opposed. Motion passes. Our action items are approved. We'll remind everyone on the call of the upcoming meeting dates. Our second budget hearing, Monday, June the 20th, 4 o'clock, with a called teleconference meeting at 4:30, our next board meeting. Dr. Gibney Sherman, anything else to discuss?
No, I think we did a fabulous job covering a lot of information in a very short amount of time. And I do have to say, we are losing some more of our advisors. April Howard, of course, we know, and Curtis Jones from BIV, and Tansy Gilcrease, also from BIV, and Todd Simpson from Butts. And so we'll have new people that I'll be sharing information with beginning in July.
Thanks for that update. I see Dale Simpson on the call. We want to say, Dale, congratulations and welcome formally to the team as the assistant superintendent. We're glad to have your expertise on the team.
Yes, we are.
Yes, we are. And I think his eyes keep getting bigger and bigger every time we have a conversation. But he's going to do a stellar job for us, and Foothills is very fortunate.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to it. I'm very thankful to you, Dr. Gibney Sherman, for the opportunity.
Absolutely. We are very fortunate.
All right. One last chance here. Anyone on the call have anything else that's good for the group before we entertain a motion to adjourn? All right, hearing none. Thanks again, everyone. Thanks again, Dr. Gibney Sherman and your team for their hard work. Excellent information, great presentation, great information. So with that, Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Move that we adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Thank you. We have a move and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? None that oppose. We are officially adjourned. Thanks again, everyone. Have a great of you that are heading to your graduations. If you haven't already had them, I hope they go well and the rain will cooperate.
Yes. All right. Thank you again. Have a good evening.
Sherry, I noticed Oglethorpe's date was crossed out. Is that we just don't have anybody graduating?
No, they have one, and when we get to that, we do like a little party for the
Okay.
individuals. Yeah, because we tried to get that student to go over to Madison, but he did not want to do that. So they're just going to do like a little meal for the child at the site.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Yep.
Have a good afternoon.
Thanks.
too.